fellow College of Arts and Sciences ambassadors and ask questions about our experience through the College of Arts and Sciences and as well as like our experience at OSU in general. So all the ambassadors are students, so you'll have that student experience to go off of. So let's get started. If everyone could introduce themselves, I'll introduce myself first. If you could say like your name, hometown, major, and rank. So my name is Ruth Alendu. I'm from Cincinnati, Ohio. I am a second year and I'm majoring in international studies and Arabic. So Arlen, would you want to introduce yourself?
Hey everyone, my name is Arlen and I am a sophomore studying Spanish on the pre-med track and my hometown is Dayton, Ohio.
Thank you. Isabel, you want to go?
Hi everyone, my name's Isabel. I'm a second year studying microbiology and medical anthropology, and I'm from Harvard, Massachusetts.
Naima, you want to introduce yourself?
Hey everyone, my name's Naima. I'm a second year majoring in neuroscience on the pre-med track, and I am from Cleveland, Ohio.
And Jordan? If you're talking, for some reason, I don't know, I can't hear you. Can anyone else hear him?
Hello, can you guys hear me now?
Yeah.
Sorry, I had to change my mic settings. Hi, sorry you guys can't see me. I'm working on getting my camera on, but my name is Jordan. I'm a fifth year. I'm from Prince George's County, Maryland, and I'm currently studying computer science.
Okay, thank you. So we have a couple questions just to start off with, and after we go through all of our questions, at the end we'll have a Q&A for everyone. So just like keep any questions that you have in the back of your mind to share at the end of the meeting. So our first question is, what factors helped you make the decision to attend OSU? And Arlen, could you speak about that?
Sure, so I decided to go to OSU because it's really close to home. I'm only an hour away. And I really like the support it has for first years, like especially like scholars programs. There's like a lot just for first years to help them academically and build a community. And I also appreciated how it has a medical school, so I thought that the undergrad years would better help me prepare for that.
Thank you. Isabel, could you talk about why you chose OSU?
Yeah, so I'm an out-of-state student, but I grew up in Ohio, so I know the campus, and kind of going off with what Arlen said, I think the first year experience, they have like a whole department for that, and like they really emphasize like helping students acclimate to college life. So that was really appealing to me, just because it can be a hard transition. It can be difficult to do on your own. So like all the resources I think really help. Also, there is a lot of opportunities for undergraduate research. So that aspect really kind of influenced my decision. But I think overall the resources really did influence it the most.
Thank you. So for our next question we have, in what extracurricular activities have you been engaged in as a student at Ohio State, and how has the pandemic changed the way that you are a part of your extracurriculars? Naima, could you speak about your experience?
Yeah, of course. So besides being an ambassador for the College of Arts and Sciences, I'm also a peer leader for PASS, which stands for the Program for Advancing Scholarship and Service. I'm also a peer mentor for the Health Sciences Scholars Program within the Honors and Scholars Program. And I am also a mentor for Chemistry 1210 students. And recently I've become an ambassador for the Safe and Healthy Ambassador Program, which is a new initiative within the College of Arts and Sciences. And lastly, I'm part of the second year transformational experience program called STEP, which is available to all second year students. And I would say since the pandemic, since we are missing that in-person interaction, since all of our classes have been virtual, I make sure to frequently reach out and check on my peer mentees and see how I can help them transition into college better. And then in some of my organizations, we meet virtually or we will social distance to perform like fun team building activities so that we can still get to know each other and rely on each other as we go through this time.
Thank you for that. I know for me, I'm also a peer leader in PASS, and I'm a part of the Journal of Politics and International Affairs. I also have a campus ministry that I'm a part of on campus called Chi Alpha, and I'm also in the Undergraduate Black Law Student Association. And I would agree with Naima. It's a lot. I feel like I have to engage with people more within my organizations in order not to like completely lose that connection since everything is over Zoom, and just taking the initiative to reach out to people. Because before this year, I'm going to be honest, I did not reach out to people. But because everything is over Zoom, I'm kind of forced to strengthen those connections unless it's going to be more likely to fizzle out. And luckily for me, a lot of my organizations are actually doing pretty well, even when it's just completely online. So that's been a nice plus. But yeah, it just forces you to create kind of stronger bonds and get out of your comfort zone by interacting with people more. So our next question is, if you are or have been involved in research, can you share when you got that opportunity and the process of obtaining research opportunities? Isabel, could you talk about that?
Yeah, so I'm also in these, I'm a STEM exploration and engagement scholar, and second years have to do a capstone project. And a lot of students choose to do research. So I was very interested in doing that. So back last year, before COVID started, I had reached out to a bunch of professors in the microbiology department, you know, just kind of letting them know that I'm interested in research and just like interested in speaking with them. And I got to, a couple of them responded, and I have the opportunity to work with a professor who's currently doing research. And I'm able to do it remotely right now, but like when I come back to campus, we can continue it in person. But I think the biggest thing is just knowing that there's so many like research labs on campus, and I think professors really like it when you reach out to them and show them that you have an interest in doing research. That shows that you're dedicated to it. But yeah.
Thank you. I know I'm also doing research for the Department of Political Science, and how I got my research opportunity was interesting. I kind of feel it was a bit unconventional. So I was able to be granted work study money for the year. And so OSU has a federal work study like job board that has jobs that like students that qualify for work study can have. And at that job board, I mean, not at the job board, what am I trying to say? In the job board, there was a research position for the Department of Political Science. So I just like tested my luck and reached out to the professor, and then she was really open to having me, even though I had no experience with doing like formal research at all. So that was really nice. But a lot of professors they're teachers, but they also are doing their own research as well, or they've done their own research. And a good way is just to like look at their bio and see what research they've done, and then reach out to them and spark a conversation about like what research they are doing. And through that, you can get a lot of research opportunities. And even though you might not be able to get one like that instant, they know that you're interested, and it will help you in case you want to reach out to them in the future. So for our next question, if you have been able to study abroad, can you talk about your experiences and how has COVID impacted your opportunity to study abroad? Jordan, do you think about that?
Sure. So I went on a study abroad trip my sophomore year, and the way that I was able to fund my trip was I was in STEP, and STEP gives you a $2,000 stipend to do some transformational project, and I used mine to study abroad. And the way that I found the right trip to go on, which finding a trip is a whole other challenge, was that I actually was a peer leader for PASS at the time, and Miss Angelette was actually going to be a advisor on the trip that I went on, which is the trip to France and Morocco. And the trip was really good for me because it was a effort between the College of International Affairs, the College of Arts and Sciences, and the Office of Diversity and Inclusion. And it was a trip designed to help students who don't usually have the opportunity or underrepresented on study abroad trips to get the chance to go. So it was a Maymester trip. So it was 3 weeks during the month of May. And the trip was only around like $2,000, which is pretty good for the kind of trip and the amount of experiences that we had. So for me, I got really fortunate that I knew some of the people involved, and also I reached out when I needed to sit down and plan the trip out, look at the things that I need to do to write a proposal for a step and things like that, and I ended up having a really fun time.
Thank you so much for that. I know a lot of us weren't able to do study abroad this past year because of the pandemic, so it's nice to have someone who's been able to go before all this started. Um, for our next question, what are community service opportunities that were available to you as a first-year student? And are you still able to do community service in a pandemic? And if you are, how? So Arlen, could you talk about that?
Sure. So during my first year, I only did like small community service projects through like the program PASS, and we would like go to COSI and do a cleanup, and we also did a Good Neighbors picnic. There's other programs that you can do in your first year, such as like Buckeye-thon and like the Martin Luther King Day, where we do like a whole bunch of community service programs like throughout campus and Columbus. Currently, I am doing 2 community service volunteering opportunities through La Clinica, which is a free Spanish clinic, and an ESL class through Zoom.
Awesome, thank you. Isabel?
Yeah, so kind of what Arlen was saying, being a part of PASS gives you a lot of opportunities during the normal times to like to participate in some really cool service opportunities. And I think along with that, getting the chance to like interact with people in the Columbus area is really beneficial. And you get to kind of interact with your peers and form friendships. And I think that really helps acclimate to OSU. Other than that, I am a member of the Doctors Without Borders student chapter. And a lot of what we do is fundraising for the international organization. And we also hold other events just to raise money in general for stuff that they need. We were supposed to be going to Ghana and Sri Lanka this summer, but because of COVID, that ended up not happening. But there are a lot of opportunities on campus for service learning, and I think specifically in Columbus, there are a lot. It's just kind of hard right now because of COVID, but I know that like if you really are interested in it, you can find some pretty cool community service opportunities.
Thank you, Jordan.
Um, so some community service events and things that I participated in were through PASS, because like I said, I was a peer leader and I've stayed pretty involved. And also I'm part of an organization called NSBE, which is the National Society of Black Engineers. And through them, a lot of their community service revolved around going to some schools and helping teach kids about engineering and STEM at a much earlier age, so that when they come to college, they see it as like a viable option for them, because some students, if they're never exposed to it early enough, they never pursue those kinds of things. Because of the pandemic, the way that we try to do community service now is things like this, where we hold Zoom meetings and talk to different organizations or different groups to try to still do the same thing that we've always done, which is try to teach people about STEM at an early age, or just give people the opportunity to be involved in NSBE and develop professionally.
Thank you for that. So our next question is, in what ways is the College of Arts and Sciences preparing you for your future career or for professional schools such as graduate school, medical school, law school, or anything like that? Naima, could you talk about that?
Yeah, so in my case, I'm pre-med, and my advisors have been extremely helpful in assisting me with not only my 4-year academic undergraduate plan, but also my 4-year pre-professional plan. And so also within your first year survey classes that all first year students have to take, you'll receive a lot of guidance in figuring out what path you want to take and what steps you need to do in order to get there. And then also there are career coaches within the College of Arts and Sciences that help students identify specific experiences that will help you as you progress through your undergraduate career, and what interests will help you prepare for your future career. And then for all students, there's this online platform called Handshake, and that is where students will be able to upload their resume and get in contact with employers and like internships. So it's free, which is great, and it allows students an advantage because the employers on that Handshake website are specifically looking for OSU students. So it's a great opportunity. And then there are also career fairs that are held by the College of Arts and Sciences, and that is an opportunity for students who are looking for employers and internships as well to like physically, or right now via Zoom, communicate with them so that they can figure out what career path interests them.
Awesome. Thank you for explaining that. So our next one is, when it comes to student life at OSU, how do you find community at Ohio State, especially with OSU being such a big university? Arlen, if you could talk about your experiences.
Okay, well, to like find community at Ohio State, there are like a lot of opportunities such as like joining clubs and joining events. But like through my first year, I joined a lot of clubs through the big community fair that they have in the beginning of the year. I signed up for a lot, but I only ended up like actually staying committed to a few. And what really built community for me was PASS, which is like a program for like minorities in the arts and sciences program. And we get together every week and learn about lots of resources that Ohio State has to provide. And through there, I met like a lot of people who are in the College of Arts and Sciences, who are pre-med, and like we all talked about how we're like going through our experiences together. And other programs that I was involved in my first year was BSA, which is like the Black Student Association, and Ladies of Leadership. And like through them, I've like met a lot of people, I've met mentors, and I've gained like lots of experiences and opportunities.
Thank you. I know similar to Arlen, I also gained a lot of like my friends and community through PASS. When I first came to OSU, I was really not expecting to meet people, in all honesty, because it is such a big school, and like I consider myself very much an introvert. But even through PASS, like building that community, we first had the early arrival program, and then we did like community service opportunities, and then we meet once a week. So like seeing people before you even before classes really even start and on a weekly basis just really helped me build it really helped me build like my friendship with those that were in the club. And I know like for me, I also kind of found a community through people in my classes, because since my major is very specific, um, I'm kind of forced to reach out to people that I have similar classes with, and then find out like how their interests are similar to mine, and then just form kind of a group of friends that that have like the same pursuits as me, that have the same ambitions as me. And that really helped me find a space at OSU. Uh, so yeah. So those are pretty much all the questions that we had ready for all of you. If you guys have any questions for us, that's what we're here for. Like no question is too small or too big. Uh, we're gonna try to answer it to like the best of our ability. So don't be shy, because we're here to help you like make the best and most informed decision as possible. And you can either put your questions in the chat or like unmute yourself and ask them aloud. One question is, how did you pick your major?
I can answer this one a little bit just because the way I started out was a little, well, a little unorthodox. So like I said, I studied computer science, but when I first got here, I was actually under something called University Exploration, and I'm not sure if it still exists, but it's basically for people who haven't declared a major yet. And through University Exploration, they basically give you it's basically your survey class. So every time you go to a class, they'll hit at a different department and explain the kind of majors in the department and the kind of work you'll do there and the kind of opportunities. And they also talk a little bit about pre-med and things like that. So that's one way that that's one thing that helped me figure out what kind of major I want, because there's a lot of majors at different colleges, including the College of Arts and Sciences, that deal with computer science or computer engineering or software engineering. And so that's something that helped me find my major. And also, whatever major you decide on coming in, you're not hard stuck to. If you come in wanting to do art, you can change your major to math if that's what you're interested in. If you start in doing neuroscience, you can change to architecture if you want to. It all depends on how early you make that decision and like if that's something that you're interested in. And something else is that a lot of these courses you can take while you're focusing on what your major at the time is. So you can get a little bit hands-on with something else you might be interested in. And that's also something to help with being a dual major or taking a minor. There's a lot of ways to stick to a major and explore other things. And then also to change your major if you take a course with material that you find interesting and you want to pursue that. I had a friend who was doing nuclear engineering and then changed to math just because he liked writing proofs more than doing physics. So you have a lot of options, and finding out a major, picking a major when you first come in doesn't mean that's what you have to be when you leave.
I can also add to that. So when I applied to Ohio State, I actually applied as a biochemistry major. And that's because I had the misconception that if you wanted to be pre-med, you had to choose a science-related major like chemistry or biology. But that is not true at all. You can be any major and still be pre-med or still be any type of pre-professional track. And so there are art majors or dance majors who are pre-med. And the way it works is that you'll be given a pre-med advisor along with your major advisor. And so they will help you, both advisors will help you accomplish the things that you need to accomplish for both your major and your pre-professional track. And so after I learned that, I ended up switching my major. It's still science related, but it's not biochemistry. So that's just something I learned that is good to know as well.
I know for me, in high school, I didn't know what I wanted to do for a decent time. I knew I didn't like science. I knew I didn't like math. And I knew I liked social studies, but I didn't know what to do with it. And then through the course of like talking to one of my friends, and then he was going into international studies, that's how I found out about it. And that's what led me to do what I'm doing right now. But even once I got to OSU, even though I still stuck with international studies, what I decided to do with it has changed. Because at first I was just specializing in international relations, and then I decided to specialize it in both international relations and Middle Eastern studies and do Arabic. So like everyone's been saying, you're not set in stone in what you want to do, and you're always free to change whatever your career path is heading, wherever your career path is heading. So another question just came in that said, have any of you taken classes across schools outside the College of Arts and Sciences? And if so, how was the experience?
Um, I have, since I'm a neuroscience major, my major itself is split between the College of Arts and Sciences and the College of Medicine. And so I've had classes that were from the College of Medicine, but you can take classes that are outside the College of Arts and Sciences. Like you're not limited to just classes within the College of Arts and Sciences. So it was pretty easy. Like you just follow the course syllabus and everything. And there's nothing, in my experience, there's nothing really like special about it.
Is it possible to double major across colleges? Oh wait, no, sorry, she was answering the question. I read that as a question, not a statement. Sorry, but yeah.
Something else I can add is that with most majors, you'll be able to take general education courses. And experience I had my first year, like I said, I'm in computer science, but one of my general education courses was visual and performing arts. And so I got to take a beginner's drawing course in the College of Arts and Sciences. I think it still was, but still taking a computer science class relative to taking an art class might not necessarily be across schools, just because the College of Arts and Sciences has like a ton of majors that cover a variety of different disciplines. But it was still cool being able to like, one of our assignments, our teacher or lecturer took the entire class to the greenhouse that's on campus, and we had to sit there for the hour and 20 minutes and like draw a plant that we thought was interesting, which I thought was a really cool contrast to taking my calculus class that I had later that day and then having to sit and do coding for an hour before I go to bed. So there's a lot of variety, especially when it comes to like your general education courses and stuff.
So what does everyone's general like day-to-day look like at OSU? And how does it compare before COVID and then now during the pandemic?
I guess I can answer this question. So before the pandemic, I would have like, yeah, I think my first semester, I had around like 4 classes. Like I had survey, calc, Spanish, and chemistry. So I was like moving around a lot. I had like presentations to go to attached to calc and chem. So I would like go to building after building. Some classes were back to back. So it was like a lot of walking all around campus. And then I would have time to do homework. I would also go to meetings for like organizations that I was a part of. And yeah, just like a lot of studying for those heavy like chem and calc classes. So, but for right now, since most of my classes are online, I'm basically in my dorm studying or at the library studying and watching a lot of lecture videos and live lectures. And I still, since I'm still a part of some organizations, I would attend the meetings through Zoom, and my in-person classes, which are labs, I would basically go during like that time of the week and spend the whole time there, social distance with masks and like protective gear. And we'd do the lab, and then we'll just do everything else that could be done like online, just like from our dorms.
For me, I'll say like the biggest difference between uh, attending college before the pandemic and now is discipline and time management, because before the pandemic, you have like a class schedule that you have to like follow. Like you have to go to your morning class across campus, or else you won't learn the material. But now, since everything's via Zoom, um, and there are some recorded lectures, you kind of can plan your own schedule that's best to you. But it also requires discipline, because if you like keep pushing off watching lecture videos or recorded videos, it's easier to get behind. And so that's something that I've had to work on, is being disciplined and following, like creating my own schedule.
Something that I personally miss is that uh, I think of maybe a year ago now, because it's been a while, but I learned how to skateboard around campus to get from building to building. And I really miss being able to skateboard from class to class, because that was like one, really fun, and two, a way for me to decompress in between classes, was being able to skateboard. But now I just kind of sit in my house all day because I actually commute to campus. So don't have a reason to drive because all of my courses are online, except the lab I have every other week. So that's the only time I get to like hop on my skateboard and ride around campus now, as opposed to that. It's mostly just in my house, writing, doing assignments, or watching online lectures through Zoom.
I guess I can touch on the subject too. But I'm currently in Massachusetts, so all of my classes are online. And that's definitely different from being on campus and being able to, go study with friends and go to meetings. So in that sense, it's kind of what Naima was saying. You really have to be disciplined and you have to create a schedule that you can stick to. I think it's also just I feel like it's easier to feel disconnected from everybody because you can't really have those close meetings. But I think OSU is doing a really good job of offering resources and helping student orgs and other groups find ways to meet and interact.
Can someone share their best Ohio State experiences? I can start off. This was a year ago, towards the beginning of school. They were having this bingo tournament. And the line for the bingo tournament was very, very long, which I was not expecting. But then like while I was in that line, I like ran into a couple people that I met. And outside they were having a like mechanical bull thing that people could ride. And so like me and my friends, we each like took turns on the mechanical bull. And like one of my friends, Kofi, he like had the longest time of anyone on it. And like, but when he was on it, he had like his glasses ripped off and he was like getting swinged around the entire place. And it was so funny and it was so much fun. So it was just a very interesting experience because like I went there to play bingo and win some prizes, but then I ended up seeing my friend get flinged off a mechanical bull a bunch of times, and it like solidified our friendship from there.
Like some of the best experience I've had were like in the first semester because there was like so many events happening. They had the involvement fair, they had Buckeye Fest. They had like I don't know if you remember like that Amazon concert thing that happened. That was like in like the South Oval. It was like outside. It was like a lot of fun events, and that's where like I met a whole bunch of people and like most of my friends, and we had like tons of fun. It was like really nice. That's like a reason why I liked going to Ohio State because they had like so many big events that like a big university would have compared to a smaller university.
Kind of going off of that, even with the pandemic, well, before the pandemic, OUAB, which is the activities board at OSU, would like bring people in to just like talk to everyone. I know last year they brought in why are they skipping my mind? The exonerated five from When They See Us to like talk to people, and that was super cool. But even like during pandemic times, they're still having experiences like that. Like I know this weekend they had John Mulaney, who is a comedian, come on Zoom and like speak to OSU students and stuff like that. So even during the pandemic, there are still ways to like be engaged and interact and have activities on campus. Oh, Isabel, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, one of my favorite events that happened early on in the year before classes started was the commencement ceremony, where the president addresses everybody in your whole classes in the Schottenstein Center. And I just really like that because it was basically like one of those opportunities where you could see how many classmates you have, and it kind of is overwhelming, but at the same time you could see like how many people you have the chance to get to know, and you get to hear about like what the president has to say. And I think that was definitely one of my favorite events. They also have like giveaways that they do for just like fun, and they have companies that come, so it's a really good time.
What has been your favorite resource to use on campus?
I can actually answer this one. So I had to take two different calculus courses here. One was 1151, which is just normal Calc 1, and another was 1172, which is Calc 2 and 3, but like combined. And I was struggling with 1172 a lot. I was struggling. I think that was one of like three classes that I had the hardest time in. And a resource on campus that I think is still going on, I think they just do it over Zoom now, was called Supplemental Instruction, which is a program through the College of Engineering, but it's open to any students taking those courses. And I think they have one for 1151, which is Calc 1, and 1172. And basically what that is they'd give you a worksheet at the start of the hour, and they'd let you work on it the entire time and ask a TAA who has taken the course before and passed it with a really good score to answer any questions or help you out with any material that you need and walk you through all of the problems. And they let you keep the worksheet after, so that if you figure out how to do it, but you didn't finish your worksheet, you can go back and practice, and you can usually get in contact with them and ask them what the solutions are. Sorry about the plane overhead. But that was one of my favorite resources because without supplements and instruction, I don't think I would have passed 1172, which would have been a huge bummer because when you have a really hard class, you usually want to pass it the first time and then forget about it. And having to take that class again would have been a nightmare.
For me, my advisors were really helpful, especially my first semester at OSU, because so many students, including myself, were like lost when we come to Ohio State as far as what we want our major to be or what career path we want to follow. And so my advisors were really helpful in helping me determine which classes I need to take that will help me, like, that'll give me the most efficient schedule to accomplish what I want in terms of academics and extracurriculars and volunteering and research. And so I would say setting up advising appointments is really helpful.
Okay. Our next question is, can you talk a little bit about the residence halls?
I guess I could speak a little bit about that. I'm not like living on campus right now, but when I was on campus, I was living in Houston House, which is on North Campus, and it is one of the newer dorms. But for like the scholars program I was in, they wanted all the first years to live together, so that was one of the reasons why I was in that building. But I think it can definitely be, it depends like if you're in a room with somebody you like or if like your roommate is maybe your friend or that kind of thing. But I think the residence halls are just one of the best places to meet people. Obviously, like in a time when COVID isn't happening because it's kind of difficult to interact with people right now. But you'll just like see people like in the hallways, at least in my dorm, I know there's common areas and that's where a lot of people would just like study, hang out. The RAs plan a lot of like fun little activities that they do to try to get people, you know, talking to each other. And I formed some really good relationships through that.
I was also in a scholars program my first year. I'm still in it, but it was a health sciences scholars. And so everyone who was in that program lived on the same floor, or they were split between 2 floors. And it was just a great way to meet people who had like-minded interests as you. And so you could talk to them about school or you could just hang out with them in general. And I think that's like Isabel said, that's a great way to meet people, is to just get to know the people on your floor.
So obviously this year is very different for living in the dorms than previous years, but kind of going off what people were saying, the dorms are like one of the best places to meet people. Like from my experience, I met like my best friend through the dorms because she was my roommate. And like even though we're both not living on campus right now, we still like have a really good friendship. And I'm an RA this year, and I'm even like seeing like my residents who are becoming like super close with each other, especially during a time where like everything's on Zoom. So like the people that you meet in the residence hall will stick with you, and then you can just like create those friendships and relationships just living with each other. And also like the RAs do put on really nice programs, so if you're in a dorm and they put on a program, please go to them because they spent a lot of time and a lot of effort planning them out, and they're made so that you guys can have fun and interact with each other, especially like with it being your first year of school and probably being stressed. So yeah.
An example of one of those activities that RAs put on, my RA is putting on like a door decorating contest for Halloween. And so it's something that we can participate in. That's something that's fun that we can still do, like social distancing. And then we're also going like trick-or-treating throughout the dorm. So it's just fun little activities like that.
Another thing to add about the residence halls, it's also a good space to learn how you interact with other people, because like sometimes you might not be paired with the best roommate, or like the people around you will just annoy you and be really, really loud. So like it's kind of a learning space to learn to deal with people that you might not get the best along, like you might not get along with like super well, because you're not gonna like click with every single person that you meet. And you can't just like move from dorm to dorm to dorm to dorm. You're gonna have to learn how to deal with the situations that you're dealt with, and then learn how to have the best experiences, even though the people around you might not like click with you. Does anyone have any other questions? Like nothing is too small. If you want to talk about food, we can talk about food because that's important. If you want to just talk about like how we decompress, especially with everything, we can do that. But like literally anything, any questions that you guys have, we're here to answer. Well, if you guys do not have any more questions, I think that's all from us. I'm gonna say thank you again to everyone who came out to this and just was listening to like the questions that we had and had any questions for us to answer. I hope this helped everyone with their decision to either come to OSU or not to come to OSU. Hopefully you do come to OSU next year. But yeah, just thank you so much for coming and spending your Sunday evening with all of us. So I think that's everyone.
You can stop recording.
Well, that was a quiet group.